I have the privilege of meeting a lot of people, and a man called me once who was struggling because his wife had left. In this conversation, it quickly came up that he had been sexually molested by a man, and this traumatized him. And he brought it up in a way that I said to him, "Have you forgiven him?" And he said, "Well, yeah, I did." I was, "What's his name?" And he said, "I've not said his name in decades." And when he said his name, I said to him, "You need to forgive him." And what occurred to him is the fact that he had thought he had forgiven him, but he couldn't say his name. The trauma from those several incidents where this man molested another young man, was forever still in his heart. I bring this up not because I'm talking about sexual molestation, but because something happened in that phone call. The Lord perhaps spoke to me quickly as this man was trying to reconcile his marriage, to realize he had work to do in another part of his life. And he had to learn to forgive his first offender so that he could work on his marriage. Because when a wife or a husband leaves or anybody hurts you, forgiveness is due. It's not due to them, it's due to yourself. You owe yourself the grace of forgiving so that you no longer have to carry that pain. That doesn't mean it's going away, but the point of today's video is this: say their name. Why do I say that? Because so many of you have been offended by a family member, a spouse, a child, a colleague. And I'm not just talking like this man of sexual abuse. But many of us have been hurt pretty darn bad by people who should have loved us. And what I'll find is that they can't say the name of the person. One woman I talked to, she kept talking to me and saying, "Well, and then the daughter this, and then the daughter that." And I was like, "Wait, who are we talking about? We're talking about someone else's, or are we talking about your daughter?" She goes, "What? That's my daughter." I said, "What is her name?" And she had such a hard time saying her daughter's name because of the things that her daughter had done to her. Saying someone's name brings them back their humanity. When you can't say the name of your offender, it's a sign that you haven't yet fully forgiven them. That though you think you've forgiven them, the despicable things that they did are still holding you hostage to a degree, because you just don't want to face it. And one way of not facing it is, I'm just not going to name the person. But when you are able to name the person, name your offender, it is the first step in forgiving your offender, because it's the first step in realizing that your offender is loved by God just as much as you are. And that is so hard for us to think about. So hard. Because they hurt us very badly. And I'm not even here making excuses for the person. I'm talking about wretched things. These people who kill and torture and rape, and we don't want to name them because that makes them human. That gives them dignity. That means I have to love them. Because Jesus said we should not only love our neighbors, but love our enemies. Lord, I forgive John Smith. It is so much more powerful than saying, "Lord, I forgive the man who offended me." "Lord, I forgive Sally Jones, my sweet daughter." Is so much better than saying, "I forgive the daughter." That man, that person, the guy, the one. I've heard all kinds of things people say about their offender from people who really believe they've forgiven. Saying their name is the first step in forgiving. And once you can do that and give that person dignity, you'll be amazed at how much you will pray for them and pity them. And they will no longer have power over you. But you will say, you know what, Lord? I give you Tony Smith. I give you Sally Jones. Do with them what you will. Let my prayers be effective. When that man originally came to me, now he can say the name of his offender anytime we converse. And he actually says it with pride, not pride at what happened or pride of anything on the man's part, but on his own part. He says, I forgive John Smith. I forgave John Smith. And the funny thing is I told him, have you told your wife? Because this marriage he's trying to reconcile, he now acknowledges the pain that Tony Smith caused him. Actually kind of led towards a little bit of the hardness that he had in his heart, that he protected himself from, and he brought that into his marriage. Not being able to say someone's name is a sign of a hardened heart. And I know why we harden our hearts. Because if we harden them like an M&M and you put that hard candy coating on the outside, then they can't get into the soft part on the inside. But God wants us to have hearts of flesh. What's your heart? Can you live and laugh and have a great life and anything? Nothing gets you down unless a certain person's name is mentioned. If you even a little, and you still have hardness, you need to ask the Lord to help you get rid of it. One last thing. I texted a woman a couple weeks ago. I said, you know what? Never bring up the name of so-and-so ever again. It was the woman that her husband had been talking to more than he should have. And she realized that every time that name was spoken, she just cringed. And when I texted her and said, you really need to not mention that name, she herself recognized, I have hardness in my heart because I don't like hearing that name. Are you forgiving her yet? Are you forgiving your spouse? Are you forgiving your child? Are you forgiving your sex offender? Are you forgiving the rapist? Are you forgiving the murderer? Are you forgiving your dad for his rages when you were a child? Are you forgiving him for hitting your mom? Are you forgiving that parent that didn't ever show up to your events, didn't support you? If it's gotten so bad that you don't even say their name, well, I think you've got your answer. I know it's not always easy to do, and I'm the first to admit that. Heck, I admit all my flaws right here, because Satan can't hold it over my head anymore. But I have gotten past, and I can't think of anyone in my life that I need to forgive. I'll help you forgive. It's difficult. Give me a call. We'll walk this journey together. We're both human, after all. We're both sinners saved by grace, and so is your offender. But boy, what will God do in heaven when he says, wow, that person hurt you and you still loved them. You still forgave them. You still said their name. Well done. Well done, my good and faithful servant. I'm Dr. Christine Bacon. Thanks for watching another informational Bacon Bit. And remember to live your life sunny side up.